sound and the volume in this room. And we had somebody come and take a look at it and make some adjustments to the volume, and we hope everybody can hear, and that those who may join us remotely can also hear tonight. So are we ready, Teresa?
So she gets over there.
Okay. Ready. I'm going to call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, March 15th, 2022 at 6:30, well, at 6:55 p.m. And Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Mayor Chip Dutcher.
Here.
Cheryl Robertson.
Here.
Ryan Green.
Here.
Doug Lanner.
Here.
Marvin Block.
Here.
Ben Lee.
Here.
Sharon Hendren.
Here.
And I'm going to offer the invocation. Our Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing tonight upon this meeting, and that we will make good decisions on behalf of the city of Johnstown. We ask your blessing on all of our residents, our police officers, our fire personnel, our first responders of all types. We ask special blessing on those people in Ukraine who are dealing with unbelievable violence being directed at a sovereign country. Bless them. Anyhow, and we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyhow,
Just don't let money.
we've already had the executive session.
Oh, that's what, okay.
That was just a placeholder.
Oh, that was, okay.
We're gonna have a report now from the Parks and Recreation District folks. And tell us how they're coming along.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for having us this evening. The mission of the Greater Johnstown Parks and Recreation District will be to provide responsible development, management, coordination, and equitable access to recreational facilities, programs, and activities for residents of the Greater Johnstown area to strengthen community health, wellness, and spirit. My name is Jeff Barr, and I am honored to serve as the board's chairperson. Darrell Warnett is in the crowd. He is our vice chair and secretary. Keith Ryan is our treasurer. Susan Soriano and Ed Baldwin round out our board. Created by the Johnstown Resolution 2021-08 in cooperation with Johnstown Monroe School District, we were formed under the Ohio Revised Code Chapter 755.14 and .16. As you know, you appointed 2 board members, 2 from the school board, and then those 4 members selected the 5th member. We are working with the law firm of Ice Millo on a pro bono basis to establish our 501c3 status and our bylaws so that we can carefully move forward serving our community. I want to recognize Ms. Soriano for her efforts on obtaining this legal representation, of course, free of charge from Ice Miller. Like all things going on in our community, the announcement of the Intel project has and will present land acquisition and for park space and land conservation as a challenge. We want to work in collaboration with our local government, Johnstown Parks and Rec Committee, Licking County Parks District, Monroe, Liberty, and Jersey Township, Johnstown Monroe School District, and the Johnstown Youth Athletic Association towards a common vision and not competition with one another while fulfilling our mission. We meet here at Johnstown Council Chambers the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of each month beginning at 6:30 p.m. The community is invited to attend to learn more about our mission, and we welcome your thoughts, ideas, and comments. Anyone wanting to establish a legacy through land donation and/or monetary donation for park space or land conservation now and perpetuity to preserve our rural character, please attend our next meeting or contact me directly. Mayor and Council, may I answer any questions for you at this time?
Any questions from council members?
Again, thank you for the time, for
Jeff,
hosting
thank you,
us tonight.
thank you very much.
We
and
will
you-
come back in the future with more information.
Thank
And
you.
will you pass along our thanks to those members who are serving on this most important board?
Will do.
Thank you.
sir.
Okay. Next up, action on minutes. The minutes of both the March 1st, 2020, I guess we'll handle them separately.
Everyone was here. If you want to do them in a block,
We
you
can do them as a block? Okay. Let's do them as a block, get them done. The minutes were sent out previously. Are there additions or correction to either the March 1st meeting or the special meeting of March the 8th?
I'll move to approve as written in block.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. Anybody have any questions? If not, Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Ed Dutcher,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
Great. There's been a resident letter and correspondence, which is in your packet, and you can read it at your leisure. Next up is citizen comments on matters not on the agenda. I'm gonna make a couple comments first. First, we are gonna limit discussion this evening to 3 minutes each, and we will do our best to move this along. Second, as you all have read, there were some allegations, and we have, I took it very seriously, and as we all did. And we hired outside human resource, and we also hired legal representation to advise us how to work our way through this. The matter has been investigated. We have received the report this evening. We are reviewing those recommendations, and we are dealing with them internally. And that's all I'm going to have to say on this matter this evening. So, who wants to go first? Citizen matters not on the agenda. You got 3 minutes. Please state your name and address, and we'll move on from there.
Hi, Monica Gernert, 178 Timber Creek Court West. I'm here on behalf of Johnstown Youth Athletic Association and just wanted to provide Council and Mayor Dutcher just a brief update about how the organization is running. And actually, it's great timing with Jeff, who's also
Yeah,
on our
it's
board.
great.
Having said that. So just for Council's knowledge, the Johnstown Youth Athletic Association in 2019 had just over 1,000 registrants. And as of the past 12 months rolling, we're at almost 1,400, which shows a growth of 34% in our registration. Now, some of that is due to our wonderful soccer commissioner also on the Parks Board, adding soccer twice a year, in fairness. But we've also added sports. Wrestling has been added to our portfolio along with track, and we will be debuting cross country this fall. So the group has been growing, largely lots of interest, and it's just a great program for the local kids. JYA's relationship locally and also with our schools is, I think, very strong right now. We talk very constantly with not only Robbie Brickner, but also with coaches in sharing land and sharing resources where it makes sense. You know, the schools using some of our fields when we're not using them, it just makes sense where it's located at. One area that we have had some continued challenges is really about security, or the lack thereof, and police presence. And that is not a Johnstown PD problem. That is a location of the Belt Park problem and the fact that it is located in Monroe Township District outside of the city limits. So this past winter, just as an example, we put in the fall about $10,000 into seeding and renovating our football field / soccer field to have somebody decide to do donuts in it after we had renovated it. We also had somebody rip down a foul pole. Granted, it was not in great condition. This was not a super strong person, but then they used it to destroy a shed. And we've just seen, we've even had teens come and from the high school and do donuts in the lower parking lot when we had games going on, which could lead to serious injury of kids. So the bottom line is that we continue to have security problems at the park, and we need additional resources to actually monitor the park. So in January, the JYA board approved moving forward with surveying and creating an application for annexation into the city. And this is what I wanted to notify you of. I don't completely understand the process, but we're working on getting at least the appropriate surveys and application in place so that it can be brought forward to the appropriate people. And I did have some past discussions with Jim Lenner about that, and that's what I understood the process was. So really, this was just more of an inform that JYA is doing great. We're growing. We really need some help in this one area of protection for our kids and for our assets that we work very hard to maintain.
Questions for Monica? Thank you. Thanks to all your board members and the hard work you do on behalf of the youth of this community. We appreciate it. And I know that someday, whether they do right now or not, when they grow up, they will appreciate the hard work you all put in on their behalf. And we look forward to the Belfield area joining the city of Johnstown and offering the fine police protection that we can offer JYAA.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Who's next? If you'll start by stating your name and address, and then you got 3 minutes.
All right, good evening. I'm Jeff Lutz at 12170 Jug Street. So we don't live within the city, but we spend most of our grocery money here and our restaurant money. And we like Johnstown. And I didn't think I was going to be the first to speak on this topic because Facebook encouraged a lot of people to be here. And it's not just the intel, it's the whole process. I mean, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That includes ownership of property. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the courts? No. The legislature?
No.
No. The governor?
No.
No. From the governed. So how have we arrived in 2022 where the governed have zero input on what is going on with their property and around them? I was at a township meeting on Monday, and one poor gentleman was saying, I woke up one morning and I no longer had any rights. And I know that we are outnumbered. The New Albany cabal has all the money. They have all the forces. They have most of the politicians. I don't know any of you, if they have any of you guys in their pocket. But from what I can tell, they certainly have the county commissioners, because I've been after them since October, and they've refused to give me any information at all on what's going on. So this is a battle between good and evil, people that want to be free and people who want to enslave those, who want to make all the decisions and tell people where to go, where to live, and what to do. So, given that we're outnumbered, just ask everyone to pray that God rebuke this evil cabal that's inflicting its will with no input from the people involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next.
Hello, good evening. Eric Taylor, live at 214 Blueberry Hill Road, there in Leafydale. Just have a couple questions. I know the last couple meetings you guys were asked about a plan for the Intel stuff. Have you guys thought about a plan yet, or have you guys come up with that yet?
We are, we are playing catch-up, and I'll be very blunt about that. And we are working on a plan, but we're working on lots of plans underneath the plan. There's a lot to catch up on and a lot to do. As you know, we had a comprehensive plan that was put in, I think, 3 years ago. Am I right, Bailey? 2 years ago. And we thought that was a pretty good plan. And it's sitting there on our website, available to everybody. But, as I've told everybody, it's been overtaken by events. And we're now having to make adjustments in looking at that plan and all of the various pieces of that plan, including transportation, including where various things looking ahead might go, additional subdivisions that may choose to be considered as a part of Johnstown, property owners, and I believe firmly in property rights, and it is my right to determine what I do with my property. It's not anybody else's right. It's my right and my right only, as far as that right to buy it, sell it, whatever. So we are working on a variety of levels with a whole bunch of different folks, whether it be the state of Ohio, the Department of Development, the county, and the various subdivisions of the county. And that's sort of, I guess I'll stop there, but that's what we're up to. I have gone to probably 14 meetings in the last 3 weeks. I've sat there, I've listened, I've tried to ask good questions. I've tried to make sure Johnstown has a seat, and the city of Johnstown officially has a seat at that table where decisions are being made. And to say that, and to ask our questions, be taken seriously, and influence the process. And that's what, I've taken that on my shoulders and on behalf of the council. And I'm happy to share that burden with anybody who wants to help pick up that burden. However, we were told about the Intel project 1 week before the public, and I got a heads up 1 week before the announcement was made, and no details with that. And then I was invited to come to Newark to the Midland Theater for the announcement. That's all we knew. We got no further word on it, no details, no nothing. Now, there's a whole lot of Facebook speculation out there. All these plans were in place and everybody knew about it. I can tell you that wasn't true. Did we know something was happening out there? Yeah, for the real estate agents all talking to each other. And we knew that much, but we didn't have any idea who it was, what it was. Yeah, can we read the newspaper and say there's a shortage of chips? Somebody's gonna have to do something about it. But there was no pre-plan, there was no nothing to allow us to be able to deal with. So we're playing a lot of catch up and trying to do the best we can with the information that we are receiving. And I can tell you, the Intel people, and that's a very big company, they have silos in that company, and those silos and parts of the company don't talk to one another. So this is a new experience for them, that they're having to do this plan sort of on the fly. It all came together very quickly, and we're trying to do the best we can to make up for short time and to plan and to look ahead to what we want Johnstown to be, not only in the next few years, but way in the future. I've said to anybody will listen, Johnstown's a special place. Why is it a special place? It's a special place because of all the people who have lived here, who live here currently, and I'm talking about the bigger Johnstown here, not just inside that yellow line, who live here currently and will join us in the future. And it's not about buildings, it's not about roads, it's about the people and how we treat each other. And that's what makes Johnstown a special place. And by golly, I'm gonna do everything I can that we hold on to that, because that's what makes us special. And so that's what we're up to, and that's what we're up to as a council. And we're planning to do some outreach to the community, starting 21st of April. We're doing a sit down with our business community, and then 2 weeks after that, we're going to open it up to community members, and I think we're going to have 3 of those, and you'll all be invited. Anybody can come, and hopefully we'll have some Intel officials here that will be able to speak for themselves, and some other folks who are involved in this project at both the state and the local level. And it'll give you and all of us an opportunity to ask them these questions. And I think that's a good way to handle this. Others may disagree, but know that we're spending every waking hour living this, and it's not easy, but that's what we have to do for everybody, and to make sure Johnstown's rights and thoughts and are protected. And because if you've noticed, every other community, and you read the articles in the paper, every other community thinks this is the gold at the end of the rainbow, and that they want their share. Well, I can tell you, Johnstown is located 1 mile from that factory, and we're gonna, by golly, get our share, because we're the closest. It's not New Albany. It may say a New Albany address, but it's Johnstown, and they know that, and Intel knows that, and the officials of the state of Ohio know that. So I will shut up now.
We keep on hearing the same answers every city council. Is there, like, are you doing by email or by phone call? And how do I public record request that?
What's
Like
that?
your emails and your phone call records and stuff like that to see what.
You can file something with Teresa, she does that, and I'd be happy to, you can have every one of my emails, and you can have every one of my phone calls, and who they were with, and I know it's open to public record, and I have nothing to hide.
I just want to add this, I get the Next Door Neighbor app, which a lot of you probably get, and this was like a week ago, and they had a map, it said Licking County Development. There's a map, and it has from Sunbury to Alexandra, the Route 37 is gonna be made to 4 lanes. That's false. Licking County Development has nothing to do with the county itself. It is a website that a realtor has, and where they made up this map, it's a made-up map. I'm sorry, but it's a made-up map. So if you're worried about 37 becoming a 4-lane highway coming all the way through here to Alexandra, that is false. So I just wanted to clear that up.
So I know, Chip, that you mentioned that it's our land. When eminent domain comes in effect, and also the quick take eminent domain, also with the federal, it's a federal act.
I don't think, as far as I know, there's been no eminent domain on this project at all.
Okay.
It's all been private landowners selling to either the city, eventually to join the city of New Albany for the actual Intel
There's
project.
quite a few residents have been left out, because I've been to the Jersey Township meetings, I've been to New Albany meetings, and I mean, there's been a lot of people left in the dark that has 1 acre, 2 acres left here and there, and frontage. And I've been the victim of the eminent domain in the past for the city of Columbus with roadways coming in, and they're gonna, quick take is very easy, especially with the emergency project that Intel falls under with the CHIP Act and also through the Senate. So the quick take can happen with individuals very easily. So I just wanted to find out what the city's doing to protect the citizens, especially when you're coming down, because 37 is going to have to be widened. So I know there's no plans of 4 lanes coming down 37, but when you have 10,000 workers eventually. When you have IBM coming in, you also have Dell and Microsoft looking in here, and all the partners with Intel, you're going to have these roads widened. And there's a lot of people that have 20, 30-foot property lines. They're going to get taken. There's no matter what you look at it, they're going to get taken. So what are we going to do as a city to stop that? Is what my question is.
All to be determined. I don't have an answer for you tonight. And, but I personally do not like the use of eminent domain. I much rather if there's a taking to be done, that the landowner be compensated justly, and because I believe in property rights, and I don't believe in takings by and large. But that's just me, and so I can't force my opinion on others. But if anybody else wants to.
I know some who have sold and they've done very well. And I don't know if anybody's taken eminent domain, and I know some who've been offered ridiculous prices, so. Nobody's taken
But the
eminent.
people that don't get that offers are going to be left in the dust, and that's what happened to us in City of Columbus
Was
when
it?
they built that road. And they give you a very fair price. I mean, like a fair price, what its market value, and then they take your land or give you a 30 to 60 day notice with quick take, and they build your road, and then you have to catch up and actually pay for getting it valued on your own time, and then find your own lawyers, and then get that money in return. Like if they
Well,
value
I can tell you the process that the city of Johnstown has followed, especially when looking at the 62 project as an example. They were, the landowning holdings that were taken were, we negotiated, we talked to the landowners, I think it was a fair price that we paid for that land. And nobody, and we didn't threaten anybody, and we didn't do eminent domain on anybody. We reached agreement with every one of the landowners that we had to take some land to widen the road.
you guys were a village at that time, right?
We were a
The
village,
the
we're now
The
city.
village doesn't have the rights to eminent domain, the city does,
Yeah.
and the state also, and the federal
Oh, they do.
level
They
too,
do,
and
but
the federal.
I can't protect you from that as a city. I have to work within the rules as they're set up, so. But it's not our intention to do takings by eminent domain, by and large. That, I would say that's our policy, but others may disagree with me, but.
I think if it gets, I'm not an attorney, but I think if it gets down to it, where they're taking an eminent domain, and you disagree with them, you can take it to a jury trial.
Not with quick take. Quick take, they take it from you. Now, regular eminent domain, you have the process with appeals through the Ohio Revised Code and stuff, and you go through the regular appeals 6 months to a year or whatever when the planning phase. But we're past the planning. They're digging on Jug Street right now, throwing that 42-inch main from City of Columbus to the project, and then they have 3 to 4 miles of haul road that they're building right now, and then they're expediting everything, and we're way behind the 8 ball. And all the other projects, I know there's like the water tower project. We should be putting all that stuff on hold right now and worrying about the intel and how it's going to bulldozer everything in this.
Well, that's
area.
Southwest Licking's water tower, I think. Our water tower, as many of you know, is being, the base is already completed. It's sitting behind Granville Mill. The top is waiting for warmer weather so it can be painted, and it will say Johnstown just like our current. It'll be red and look just like the current tower. So while I am sympathetic, the city of Johnstown cannot do anything basically with what you're dealing with in Jersey Township. And that's sort of where it sits with that. We can only deal with what's inside the city. Now, those of you who would like to join us in the city of Johnstown, we're always welcome we always like to talk to folks that want to join us, and I can't go out and solicit people annexing into the village, but if you come to us and ask the questions, we can certainly give the answers. And so that's what I have to say.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? And then we're gonna move on.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Wouldn't want to be on your side by any stretch of the imagination, and I apologize if this comes off
It's
abrasive.
okay.
you're our voice, you are our representation, and we're frustrated, obviously. First and foremost, has there been any more discussion on the lobbyist from New Albany that were gonna represent us? I know you guys had kind of put
Yes,
that
we
table.
we have signed a contract. The Seekmans, are working on our behalf. They were here all day today.
Okay.
We are putting 2 projects into the state capital budget, and they have a big part in that. And, I can't talk about the projects, other than to say, I think everybody's gonna be very happy with those
I
projects.
hope so.
And, they're well worth what
Hope
we're
so.
paying them.
I hope so. And then my second point is, we had previously had a village manager. I know we had talked about it and possibly filling it. I know you're temporarily filling that role. If we don't fill it or whatnot, can we get an information manager? Prime example, Ms. Robertson brought up about the Nextdoor app and all the rumors and all the crazy crap that's out there. It can't be controlled. It's a wildfire.
I know.
And it sucks for you guys. It sucks for the community. It sucks for everybody.
It does.
We just need something out there officially from you guys.
That's one of the reasons
That's-
we're gonna have
yeah.
these informational meetings.
Right, because I brought this
I
up
think
last time, and it's,
I think that's the best way to handle it. I've done a few, interviews, which I don't like to do, but I've had to do them. To try to get information out, and that was just the basics.
right.
Of what I knew that day when they were asking me questions. That's why we're gonna do these meetings. I have a philosophy about Facebook that don't let facts get in the way of a good story. We have, unfortunately, we have many folks that are putting out stuff on Facebook that are trying to make a buck off this. And I don't, I have a problem with that. And, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And then, like, the village manager, are we gonna fill that, or are we not?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Thank
Stay
you.
tuned.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
Thank you. Well, and as we move on that process, we will keep you all informed. Next.
Daryl Burnett, 7473 Concord Road. I just thought of something. I'm getting a lot of the solicitation calls, for the buying of the properties. Some are probably legit, but I've confirmed some of them are not. To that communication, especially for senior citizens in the area that might be
Scary.
especially vulnerable, I don't know if there's any way that we can get communications out through Legion, et cetera, to make sure that they're on high alert, especially when people hear the money going around. It can be very enticing to start giving information. So might just be proactive to squash some of that if we can with.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
It is.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, if not, we're gonna move on. Next up are council committee reports. Planning and zoning, let's see, I think, did we report on them last time or not?
No, we met last Tuesday.
Okay, you wanna give us a little update?
We had a work session on the new zoning code.
I didn't hear you.
We had a work session on the new zoning code.
Yes, good. Okay, so that's moving ahead. Questions for Bailey? Hearing none, we'll move on. Safety and service, we updated that last time, because I can remember that. Finance committee met this evening, and Ben is gonna update us on that.
Yeah, so went through our normal monthly reports. We did, hopefully should be seeing the city vehicle back sooner rather than later after it's getting fixed from a couple accidents, non-village city responsible accidents from last year. But Dana's following up on that. A couple things to bring to council's attention: the sanitary sewer line upgrade. I'll just say, well, Jack, do you want to give some background into that real quick? Because we did a vote in finance. I want to bring it to council for consideration too.
Yep, very briefly, over on Payne Street, we have some houses that are not connected to the main sewer on Payne Street. And the sewer line that they are running through runs across private property instead of in the road right-of-ways. So I brought a plan together to council to redirect that sewer and actually drop an access point into that so we can maintenance and take care of it. In our camera work, we also found a gas line had been bored through the I won't call it the center, but pretty close to that, so that also needs to be taken care of. So the price to redirect that sewer and get it, a large portion of it back in the city right away was $32,000. We have those dollars available in the sewer department to take care and make those corrections. And I brought that to the finance committee for their views.
So as a committee, we voted 3-0 to move forward with that, expending that $32,000. It's a problem we didn't know we had. It seems to be some of these yesteryear issues that continue to pop up that we just have to tie up when we find that there's a
Yeah.
random pipe that we didn't know existed. So the money is definitely there within the sewer enterprise fund to do $32,000, 3-0 from finance. So I don't know if there's any other questions or comments from council to that end.
Questions from council on that particular matter?
Because we'll ask for a motion in a second to move forward with this, because we'll need to draft up an appropriation ordinance for that. So without any, I'll move forward, I'll make a motion to move forward to $32,000 expenditure for that sanitary sewer line upgrade.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson.
Yes.
Aaron Dutcher,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
Okay.
Similarly, we had another expenditure conversation about the Ford 550 truck that we had as a part of our capital expenditure budget that was approved last year for this fiscal year. Long story short, we ordered a truck. A truck is kind of there for us to take as a part of that order. However, it's essentially the last truck on the lot. And as such, it meets all of and then some of the needs that we need for that truck. It's an additional $9,000 expense. If we don't move forward with provisioning this truck to replace one that badly needs replaced, it is most likely going to be a 2-year wait on receiving the truck that we need. So the feeling from the finance committee was that a $9,000 expenditure, definitely understanding what that additional expenditure would be 2 years from now, necessitates the need to move forward with that. So finance voted 3-0 to move forward with the additional $9,000 expense to provision the truck that the service department needs today.
The 9,000, as I understand it, that included the attachment for the plow, the special lighting it has
Oh,
to
yeah,
have,
yeah,
all
yeah.
of those kind of bells and whistles.
Yeah, the truck will come outfitted as planned, but there were a number of people vying for these last 4 trucks that they had because our order was in before the others. We had first option of it. The concern is if we let this truck go, they will not honor the price for the chassis. We would have to resubmit next year, and they don't know when these trucks will be available, if at all, in 2023.
I think it's taken us on average in the last 3 years, 18 months to get a
To get a
vehicle
vehicle.
after we've ordered it, police cruisers included. So 2 years is probably
So,
conservative.
would you like a motion to buy the truck?
I don't know if there are any other questions or
Are there
comments. from
any
council
questions?
first.
Well, as you know, it's just the increase of the 9,000. The other money has already been budgeted, it's in the budget and been approved.
Sitting there, ready to go.
Yeah.
If there's nothing, anything else?
My only question, they didn't have a Chevy?
No.
All right, well,
Chevy.
it'll be on record. I'm
Chevy was long.
As a matter of fact, when we tried to compare price and order,
Yeah.
Chevy would not even take an order.
Really?
They said they had no trucks and knew they couldn't, they would not take the order because they could not supply it.
They're lost.
I'll go ahead and move forward with a motion to expend the additional $9,000 for that.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
A second.
Teresa, discussion, any discussion? If not, Teresa, want to call the roll?
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Aaron Dutcher,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Okay.
The last item to bring up is The SSI server upgrades, so we're talking through the SSI implementation. We have been having conversations with our IT folks and the SSI folks about what it would take to host locally instead of in the cloud. The testing so far has been that at this point, the server isn't able to hold what we need to operate and provide the other services. The server's 3 years old at this point, which blows my mind that that is old, but okay. So what has been asked, or what has been offered, is that SSI will host for us for free on their end to get us on the implementation schedule while we continue to work out the background of what is needed for the server, whether or not it's a server that needs upgraded anyway, which it sounds like there's a potential for that because of some recent downtime that we've had and loss of productivity. Or if it's just a move where the cost-benefit analysis says that we just move to a cloud-based, as SSI offers already at that end. So finance moved to move forward with that to get on the implementation schedule, and at this point, there's no additional funding needed to do so. But we will continue to investigate in the background with the IT. So,
Any other questions for Ben?
questions about that?
So questions on that. So our current server is beyond repair at this point.
No, indeterminate.
Not
There's some more
To
conversation
be
happening.
determined. That's what we're trying to find out.
What I understand is that at this point, it isn't able to hold, it doesn't have the amount of space or capacity to host the SSI as it is at the moment. But it sounds as if there's been some recent failings with it regardless, which necessitates a larger conversation. Am I framing that correctly?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, we've had server failures
Yeah.
recently
Yeah.
that we can't have.
I think we currently have, our IT group though is looking to see if we can expand that, make it larger, but we have no idea at this point at what cost.
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
Okay.
so,
You got-
so we're going to a cloud then after a year.
That's the alternative.
That's the alternative.
It's
That's what I was
potential.
gonna say. You're gonna back it up in the cloud anyway, so I don't know what you could just go to the cloud.
No, the conversation was to
Does it
host it
cost-
wholly locally or have it in the cloud.
Yeah.
Because the idea was if we had it locally, we'd have control over it, but then you have the added conversation about infrastructure, ability, maintenance, wear and tear after
Yeah.
36 months, or you host it in the cloud, which makes it more available. So just exploring those additional options for that. But if the server needs an update anyway, then it might be able to be bundled all in
Okay.
Have you got the information back about the computer yet?
about the
The
computer.
one that you had on in the finance department?
Yes, SSI,
30,000.
whole thing.
The whole thing?
We haven't gotten
No.
answers back for our questions, so.
No, but we just wanted to move forward with getting on the implementation schedule, which is why they're saying that they would host it for us for free in the interim.
While we figure out
What we need.
where it's gonna be
Yeah.
situated. Any further questions for Ben? If not, we will move on. Economic development, we updated last time. Parks and Recs met today. And I substituted for Marvin in that meeting. We had a good discussion. We are putting in for 2 projects in the state capital budget with Representative Frazier we are his number 2 project and his number 4 project. And one being a splash pad to be located in the Trailhead Park, exactly where it's gonna be sited. We have a good idea. These are dollars, these are basically found state dollars. The capital budget works in that representatives put their wish list together, they submit it. If it makes it into the bill, you're basically gonna get part of the money, at least some of the money, the exact amount to be determined by the bill and the sponsors. And so we've got the splash pad as number 2. And then we had a request from, it started with Director Zarelli from the Big Red Band, that they wanted to have a place to do outdoor concerts. And we found them we have an existing park space in the hill that we thought would be great for people to put their blankets in a flat space where they could put their lawn chairs. And it's at Hannah's Park, down from the American Legion Memorial there. And Representative Frazier is gonna put that in his number 4 project. And we hope to be successful in getting state dollars to make those reality. We think they're good projects. They meet all their criteria, and but we're up and having to compete with everybody else. So stay tuned for further developments on those 2 park matters. We also talked about the existing Johnstown station. If you know, we have a railroad station. And what might be the future of that station. We had a little discussion about that. We talked about the Mastodon site. We talked about, I guess those were the highlights. That was pretty much it. We heard from downtown Johnstown. We heard from the Licking County Parks Department. We talked a little bit about how successful the dog park is. And the Parks Department is adding, Licking County Parks is adding a parking lot near the trailhead beside Concord Road, and that they have received the land. So that was basically the Parks meeting.
Jackson Dog Park parking, did that go on?
Yeah, and we talked, Jack told us a little bit about the plan for the dog parking, and
Hopefully we'll start.
hopefully that'll start soon. And we know there's a mud issue there, and we're gonna work at addressing that. Any questions about the parks? Okay, moving on. The tree commission, I think was updated previously. It was, and the events committee. Ben, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it was canceled, and we've
Okay.
since rescheduled it.
Great.
Next one coming up, the 24th, that's next Thursday?
Yeah,
Yes,
something like that.
next Thursday, 5 o'clock. That'll be here, because I think Mayor's Court is that night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be-
Any questions for Ben regarding the events committee? Okay, next up is director reports. First up is finance. Dana, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor. Go through some highlights on my report. Tax revenue, total income tax revenue collected year-to-date through February was $398,000, which represents a little more than 15% of our 2022 budgeted income tax, which we've budgeted at $2.6 million this year. The largest source of the city's income tax revenue is our withholding taxes, and that is 66% of the total collected year-to-date. And that just goes to show that more jobs and higher pay rates in Johnstown. Johnstown's growing, so therefore we have higher withholding taxes being remitted. I also have my revenue and expenditures attached as well. I'm not going to go through those line by line, but just some highlights here. The revenue that we've received in the general fund, the permits, fines, and licenses, we've collected through February about $6,000 for new home builds. 20 new homes have been permitted so far this year. About $800 for miscellaneous zoning applications, $17,000 for an application for a preliminary plot / lot split in Concord Crossing East. And also revenue from court fines has been a little over $10,000 year-to-date. In the right-of-way fund, we have received a large remittance from Columbia Gas. They've remitted their full payment of $35,000. A portion of that, $24,000, was to repay the city on the change orders that we've encountered on the South Casson Street project. So those monies will be transferred out of the right-of-way fund and go into the capital projects fund from which they were originally paid. And finally, just want to point out that I've been working diligently with Julian and Grube to provide them documentation on our 2020 and 2021 accounting documents, as we have a May 30th filing deadline, and we are filing GAAP basis for the first time since we are a city, so that is a big undertaking, and I've been working hard on that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Dana? Any questions? Okay, we'll move on. Next up, I think, is the chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're on.
So we will start with training. The officers in February, last month, they received 2 hours of training each. One was in ambush awareness and preparation, and the other one was controlling situations. Officer Fife and Officer Rodriguez became breathalyzer senior operators, so that rounds out almost everybody, the department being certified and such. Social media, we're up significantly over what we were doing last year. In the last 28 days, we've reached approximately 22,000 people with 6,700 post engagements. Taking a close look at the fleet, last month, the patrol cars drove 4,422 miles within Johnstown, and I kind of wanted to break it down with rising gas prices of what exactly they're doing, how long are the cars idling, stopping, and running. So the pie graph here illustrates that in the green there, that's when the cars are idling. In the blue, that's when they're physically running, and then the yellow is when the physical engine is off on the vehicle. So I don't really see any signs of abuse as far as overrunning. And those idle times do account for the time that they're on service calls, stoplights, running radar. Any time the car physically comes to stop is considered an idle. Each patrol officer drove 2 hours and 16 minutes per shift on average. Each vehicle came to stop 681 times, and each shift officers drove approximately 40 miles. Last can be fuel costs. You will see that that is substantially higher than it was last year, so I'm about $738 above my mean average in 2021, and in total we used 723 gallons of fuel. And that's all that I had. Any
Great.
questions?
Questions for the chief?
I have a question.
Ben?
Because I know I asked you the graph with the fleet, about the stoppage and idling and things like that. Curious, within that, the 432 hours, that's the entire month of February, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so if I was looking at the cars as they ran, there's a total, if I was to look at all my patrol vehicles, there could have been 4,032 hours that were driven total. So yeah, 7% of that time was just spent idling.
Okay. Just for me, in trying to discern, what I take away from this is that there's about as much time idling as there is driving, which tells me patrolling versus maybe watching for traffic or
Absolutely.
something like that, right?
Vast majority of that time comes to physical service calls
Yeah.
because the cars are equipped with radars, onboard cameras, they have the laptops in there, all that equipment in there. So when they're on these service calls, they're physically running because they have their equipment running at that time.
So the shut-off time too is relative to when, like, say, a patrol car is out of service or something to that point?
Yeah, so I don't want them running them all the time. And then obviously, when I'm looking back, it was a cold month. So that's also a factor too. They're keeping those cars on just a little bit longer than say they were in the summer. But if they're here on station working on a report, or if they're walking through business and they don't need to have some of that equipment off, they're shutting their cars off.
So 4032 is on-duty hours?
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the chief? If not, we're gonna move on. And we're gonna move to the legislative part of this meeting. And first up is ordinance 04-2022, an ordinance amending ordinance 47-21, the annual appropriation ordinance of the city of Johnstown to approve necessary changes of appropriations. Dana, you're on. I knew you were waiting, I was waiting to you to chew.
I'm sorry. Apologize.
That's all right.
This is a result of the ruling or the settlement agreement between the city of Johnstown and Johnstown Monroe Local School District Board of Education to repay a portion of the finances that were paid to us, to the city, for tap fees. And this is to appropriate those funds.
And so tonight, we're gonna have a public hearing and a vote. So first up, I'm going to introduce, I will entertain a motion first, before we do all that, to approve the ordinance.
So moved.
Ben moved, is there a second?
Second.
Ryan has seconded. Discussion, any questions for anybody? If not, I'm gonna open it to public hearing, we have to have a public hearing. And, so that's, if you have questions, you can ask. If not, we'll close the public hearing and move on. Hearing no discussion, we're gonna move on and close the public hearing. And if there's no further discussion from members of council or questions, Teresa, will you call the roll?
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Ed Lee,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Doug Lehner.
Yes.
The ordinance is agreed to. Got everybody? Did we skip?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Moving on. Next up is Resolution 2022-11. And this is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into and execute a contract with the State of Ohio Department of Transportation to complete widening and resurfacing of US 62 between the Village Square Shopping Center and Westview Drive. Jack, do you wanna?
Yes, basically what this contract does is, as we know, this project is going to take off this summer. We don't have the exact dates yet. But this contract says anything that is outside of their normal fixtures, culverts, lights, light mast arms, they have a standard price for those things. Johnstown may want to have an upgrade or a different type of mast arm to match the existing mast arms. If those costs exceed what the standard is, then the village will be made aware, and then you as council will vote whether you want to pay for those upgrades or not. If you do, 100% of that upgrade will be borne by the village.
City.
City. Too many years the other way. Thank you, Chip. So that's what this is. If we choose a different mast arm or a different item, we will have to pay the difference in the cost, but we will know those differences when the bid documents are open, so we'll have time to discuss it.
So anyhow, we need to have a motion to approve this resolution, and we're gonna tonight have it's gonna be introduced, which we've just done. Then we're gonna have a public hearing and a vote. And, tonight, I will entertain a motion to approve this resolution. Do we have a motion? I'll make the motion. How about that? To approve resolution 2022-11, and we need a second.
I'll
Second.
Okay.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion amongst council. If,
Jack, when would the project start, do you think?
I think about June. I think they're looking at an April bid time, and then the project will take off. And as soon as we get that schedule a little firmer, obviously, we'll need to work with our business owners and out that to let them know how the project will go and move forward.
I had a question, Jack, too. Since some of the scope is put in here, I know there've been some questions, because this states from Westview to the Village Square Shopping Center. Is it truly starting at Westview and going across the bridge?
I actually think the plan shows it starting across the bridge
That's what I
and up.
Okay. That's what I thought. I think we've had hopes that would start at Westview, and I feel like
I can investigate that to see if it was moved and or changed, but currently I don't think that was the original thought.
I feel like we've been told that the bridge would be able to handle, I mean,
Yes, we were
you don't
told that.
need the third lane on the bridge, literally. But for continuity across, I feel like we've been told that could handle it. But, the other question too, and it would be great to follow up on that, cause I know I've had a lot of questions from folks about the scope of the update or the improvement. But it also notes curb gutter and sidewalk. Are you getting curb gutter and sidewalk on both sides?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think the sidewalk is just on the McDonald's side.
Okay, that would make more sense from a cost.
Yes.
just on the McDonald's side.
Okay. That's all I had.
So, it's been introduced. We have done our discussion. And now it's your turn, and we're gonna open the public, I'm gonna open the public hearing. Anybody has any questions or whatever, now's your time. Hearing none, we are going to close the public hearing. Any further questions from council or discussion?
You have an anticipated end date, Jack? If it starts in June?
I
what-
don't
what
have
are they
that
thinking?
scheduled yet as the bid. It hasn't even been bid yet,
Okay.
but I will relay that as soon as I have that information.
Okay, thank you.
So with no further questions, Teresa, you wanna call the roll?
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Brian Green,
Yes.
Doug Leonard,
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Okay, resolution is agreed to. Resolution 2022-12, a resolution updating the district's solid waste management plan. Jack?
Yeah, this is something we do every 3 years. It's just for our solid waste handling, and the village has been part of this, and again, we're just gonna continue, and it's renewed every 3 years.
Okay, so tonight we're gonna have introduction, which we just have done. And I need to have a motion to approve resolution 2022-12, and then we'll proceed after that with a public hearing and a vote.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2212.
Great.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. So it's been officially introduced. We'll now have open for a public hearing on this remaining and updating the solid waste management plan. And if I don't have any public comment, we will close we'll close the public hearing. And questions from council, discussion, hearing none.
Well, I would just wanna say, if nobody's read it before, last time this came through, I read it, it's about 350 pages.
Yes, you did, I remember.
Oh, gosh.
And there were some interesting points in there about, in defense of the solid waste plant, there's some interesting points about recycling, the amount of money and effort and energy put into education about recycling and mitigating the amount of trash that goes into landfills, multi-year plans about being able to pull back on the amount of waste that goes into landfills and things like that. A lot of things I didn't know about until I started reading it. I encourage everybody to read it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea,
I'm not gonna.
but I found it very interesting.
It will cure your insomnia.
We'll take your word for it.
Fair enough.
So anyhow, any further discussion, questions? If not, Teresa, you wanna call the roll?
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Brian Green,
Yes.
Doug Leonard,
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Not till I read it. Yes.
The resolution is agreed to.
Cheryl Robertson,
Oh, I'm sorry.
You forgot me.
You took a deep breath and I thought you were done. Okay. So the resolution is now agreed to. Next up is resolution 2022-13, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into the Licking County Governmental Aggregation Program Participation Agreement. As many of you will remember, Commissioner Bubb was here to make a presentation. He was here twice, actually, to make a presentation about the aggregation program. This allows, and it'll be on the ballot in May, and it doesn't force anybody to do anything. It provides, with this aggregation plan, the county will be offering to a variety of municipalities a program which would mean a lower electric bill and a lower gas bill. And you don't have to join, you can leave at any time. However, you know, if you leave, you go back to paying whatever Columbia or AEP or is that what the going rate is. But this does give us an opportunity by joining with others in the county to save money on both the electric side and the gas side. I think that's good explanation. So anyhow, this is to allow us to sign. It's on the ballot. So this is the final piece. So it's introduced, and so we need a motion to authorize the manager to sign on to the aggregation program.
So moved.
Ben has moved it. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been, Sharon has seconded. And discussion. Hearing none from council, we'll move to the public hearing section. It's open. Any questions from the public? And hearing none, we will close the public hearing. And further discussion from council members? If not, Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Doug Leiter,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes. So that concludes the legislative section of the evening. And now we are in other business, and Ben has something.
I forgot one thing from finance. I know it's surprising. But we talked about road projects. That was one thing that we brought up. We had a number of road projects, mill and fill, and then sealing.
Sealing and coating.
Sealing and coating. And when we factored those numbers into the budget last year, and I got the bids this year, the bids came back very high. The dollar amount, and we talked about this in safety and service 2 weeks ago, the dollar amount that we had set aside was about $190,000.
Correct.
To take care of, I'm just gonna throw it out there, 12 or so roads, thereabouts. But today, $190,000 gets you about half that. What Jack and the engineers looked at was what we could do for $190,000. And at Safety and Service, we said, well, let's go ahead and move forward with those 6 roads or so at 190, take it to finance in 2 weeks and see what we think we can do based off of that. And in finance, we decided that because of the volatility of the price of everything, day to day, it seems like, that instead of looking at additional monies to put towards that, unfortunately, because we have, and we can talk about Jersey Street, I think we already put it out there.
Yes, we're
Jersey
good.
Street, we had the OPWC grant and everything like that to improve, which is from South Main to the bike path. But that hasn't bid yet, so we don't know exactly what's gonna come in with that, because we're working off of engineers' numbers right around the same time frame. So what we talked about in finance is because of those outstanding bids that are still there, and wanting to make sure that we take care of Jersey this year, because we have the funding for it, that we just stick with the $190,000 dollar amount, do what we can. And if we can add anything later on in the year, we can look at that, but just to mitigate off any additional rise in costs for the balance of the year. So just want to let everybody know about that piece, because that does affect the budget, what we talked about from a capital improvement standpoint.
And then additionally, besides these projects, we are, I don't know the exact date for the bids, but we are working with the Monroe Township trustees that to repave Edwards Road this year. And that bid should go out shortly, and the it's a joint project with the township. And the plan is to pave Edwards from Main Street to county line. It's quite a lengthy operation, but as anybody who's driven on Edwards Road at any time in recent memory knows, there are lots of potholes, and we want those things fixed. So we're looking forward to a nice, smooth Edwards Road.
Couple things there, Mayor,
Sure.
just to add on.
Absolutely.
Actually, it'll be from North Oregon,
Okay.
down to county line.
we
Because
already
that
did-
first little section
we
was
did that
done a
already.
few years ago, and that bid opening, so we can look at the numbers, will be March 21st.
Okay.
So it's coming very quickly.
Would you, on this, thing at Prime, give us on the shopping center?
Yeah, now, that is a draft.
Yeah.
That's, So I need to review that. That came in. I wanted to get it into council's hands as quickly as possible, but I have not done a thorough review of that yet. That will be part of what I get done the rest of this week to get the final, a non-draft copy to see where we're at. So in all honesty, Marvin, I just got that. I haven't had a chance to even gloss over it yet.
Not too bad.
But I wanted you to be able, you as council members, to be able to see it as I'm looking at it.
Bottom line doesn't look too bad.
Now, the gloss I did look at, that does not include purchase of ground. That's just to bring the road
Just to bring the road to the light.
up to the level.
Any other matters come before the council?
I had two things.
Sure, Ryan. Go
That I
ahead.
wanted to bring up. So I know after our work session last time, meeting with the lobbyist, I know we brought up the lobbyist. The one thing I wanted to see, they had stated that their role in New Albany was very clearly defined. They mostly worked through the manager, and here that kind of remained to be seen. So that was something that they brought up. So I wanted to suggest possibly another work session to come up with, our at least top 5 things we want to see. I mean, a lobbyist, they're not going to come in here and help us form a city government or help things run smoother to an extent. Their job is to go hunt down money, hunt down projects for you, assert their influence. That's what they're there for. So I definitely want to see that role defined. As the one guy who wasn't in agreement with bringing them on, I definitely want to make sure that we get every dollar out of them, now that we're going to work with them. So that's something I'd like to see, at least a top 5 out of
Okay.
everybody. The other thing I'd like to see is a plan for our borders, with where we're going with that. So maybe at least some defense. I don't think playing defense is so bad, with what's coming and what's coming on other sides. I know New Albany is the hot topic, but we also have Delaware. We also have City of Columbus that are coming in. So I think that working with our neighbors and coming up with maybe a defensive strategy would not be such a bad idea.
Okay,
That's all I have.
we can consider that. Anybody else? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
I could ask if all are in favor of adjourning.
Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed?
Same sign. We are adjourned.